Marba mela juje gamboba adeza yeza gamje gamaba jege jonje jubanzananda Zarzam Baraden Robazo Zala Zaja Jela Nebe Nyame Rongo Daboga Jela Zorwa Dezoga Jela Mana Anzana Nandara Zenjelo Yelo Gamje Gambar Zombavye Zena Gala Jagime Badai Zende de da Jube Gamjela Ningo Yeba Meba Angelo Mugu Gamje Govar Zombaye Menga Dergo Jebela Mala Janda Zorwa Debe Gamjela Jume Jewa Zenjelo Yeme Gamje Nguger Zombaye Dobe Ngovo Zomade Mabje de Ganjobe Gamjela Gonza Dravara Zenjelo Nando Ngovo Juga Zombaye Jaya Maye Jaya Javala Aroba Jarve Gamjela Gorande Yerme Dobar Zenjela Jeva Ganda Yanda Lamada Andarme Juje Baralam Juje Alam Je Yande Rabzone Dore Je Jange Gomba Nyurdo Yo Zanje Juda Zoje Jona La Zanja Barada Dane Jabzanje Dage Jenzo Jembe Zonam Jenrola Biz Drapara Jo Zanje Juda Zoje Jona La Zanja Barada Dane Jabzanje Dage Jenzo Jembe Zonam Jenrola Bizar Zanje Drabar Yo Zanje Judan Zoje Jona La Zanja Barda Dane Jabzan Jenzo Jembe Zonam Jenrola Bizar Sanjen Raba Yo Zimjen Damje Deva Dan Deve Jodan Dembara Jurj Dongara da dongara je joda dravara jirje dongara mebe deva dambat Ora jirje nyere jada nida dharve Tanyo jimbo la nebar jor je Zimje damje deva dan deve jodan dembar jor Dongara da dongara je jodan dravar jor je Dongara mebe deva damba dam dravar jor Jada nida dharve danyo jimbo la nebar jor je Zimjin damje deva dan deve joda Dembar jor je dongara da dongara je joda dravara jor Dongara mebe deva damba dam mandravara jor je nyere jada nida dharve Tanyo jimbo la nebar jor je Dada zimje damje lo juzo Ndrovara zinje labda zo Ju labda ndrovara zinje labda zo Zavara zinje labda zo Ndrova yiki zan javara zinje labda zo Dada zimje dam Lo juzo ndrovara zinje labda zo Ju lamda ndrovara zinje labda zo Lam drava zavara zinje labda zo Drva yiki zan javara zinje labda zo Dada zimje damje lo juzo ndro Zinje labda zo Ju lamda ndrovara zinje labda zo Zavara zinje labda zo Drva yiki zan javara zinje labda zo Yurje nabza Nganzan bim Ge zara don bol Ngayam zin joge Ngudranyin bima Yo da la wan ye go ge da long de ba je cho da da ma nge da zo wo me wo me zeng ge Zenje song zen ye lo ye la doi je zen ye lo wa ye go wa zen ye ye da ba zen ye lo la ye yo wa zen ye ge ye da ba zen ye lo me me de be ma de wa ra ge ne ga ya be gen da wa ga be gen da za da be gen da wa be gen da re mo den za va la ma rum bo je da ge je wa be me di yo ne ka ren jin bu go ne ji zong ko song do je nge zhe zar de zo min ju jin je bo ra na de som san ji gun ju ngo wo ni ra zen ju ge ngo zong dong zi za va la ma na la ge za za ra san ji gu nge za va la ma la go zo ge ba jin bu zo ran de da me ne lo rang ngong zhe ba chen de zhe ba nyam ba ra zen ji lo ju ba zim ji jo ji den ri nyam da do be yong de bam da ye san ji ma no den be jam zin long da jam zin yao la ge zan za ra za zong gun den zo ji la ma da re za zhe de ji mi ni pin ji gan de jum zhe de jin he ra ka Barway Dorje yao la zo ran de ra na zhong zhong ni je dab jin wei yin de ri ben char gong Gyamtso le ka da xian ga na ge ci la ben ren zhen nam ye gong ba ngen jo yo okay de ni lin je chu zhou chang ma la xiao ba de le xiao da de da ni da de ne na ga de nyam be sim ji tam ji den ji de wa la na me ba yang da bo zo bo san ji je gong个一性啊，当你把的那么淡不光怕了，个把少年呗，他当然个那么做高的点都各种点着急呢，这上把上就都投机呢，先把休息。
Good morning, my Dharma friends. Please listen with the motivation of bodhicitta, which is the thought that all beings throughout space must be brought to the achievement of lasting happiness, the state of perfect Buddhahood, and that it is in order to bring that about that you will listen to and practice these teachings on the accomplishment of the Guru.
Oh, dearie, that the rank capsule telling us all young son Avadhuti Lama Namjo Hyokori. Tene Laman Ladrup Tela Lama Drobatan, Non Lama Drobatan, Sawa Lama Drobatan, Yang San Tekonanja Lama Droba, Lama Droba Ramba Mambo Yori. The Ramba Mambo Yobate Soso Hako Gori, Nak Ramba Katsis are levu, Lama Kared, Karigoni drop, Tawa Katsis are levu, Lama Kandu, Ransan Yami the Toyu, Lama Seria the country in the Samni, Sosoke, Samnotaya de Soso, Pambosea the Kitchenbo, Karesina, Lobjon Tondomana Sonri, Pambo Nietzsche, Sover Zong Sondri. The carries in a pambo, the ying pambo say at the kitchen of Marilla, to Jandang as on Yamni Selicapsa. Chupala, ying pambo say alla, Samnotana, Zavanini, ying color general called in Draco, Mari, Chujiwan and Troll, Ram pambo, Ram sea called it. Yimag pambo say at the Zo Yendro, the Chupa Zambori, Tawan Tombori, Kepari, Lama Mabotin Yale say under what the Zo Yendro, the Tindito Mari, Narangang in Chayana. The rank quota Majarva Yendu Merke Yaporizena Gagu Chow Mari, Doborizena Dogi Chow Mari, Narankayan by the Naranha Kotaba Sigina, Zodere, Magajon Yombarizena, K. Haleg Chikamari, Mug 2 down, me sayate, 2 minute Tracana Giri. 2 minute, Mug 2 me sayate, Chova Dedo Latin to me call it. Terren Chona Yapo, to Chupa Zambori, Lama Yapori, the 2 Dokuna. Dawa Jimenane Mate Juba Zengborin, Deri, Donri, Chomtori, called Zamari Serki, Yonsebari. Tata de Mate, Rawati, Chupa Yomar, Chupan the Tap Doking Yomarilan, Davajimanani, Tsovar Latin, Makayatu, Tunha Seate, Gangang, Jorvari, Matapari, Tend, Ram Pamposine, Katsis a lebu, Tawa Katsis a lebu, Chupa Katsis a seal a lebu. Tate Seate Pekich body, Tate Taranget Kejats objected.
We're beginning on page 239. And this next Guruyoga is called The Very Secret Avadhuti Guruyoga. As the title implies, there are different types of Guruyoga, what are called outer Guruyoga, inner Guruyoga, secret Guruyoga, and finally, very secret Guruyoga. These are intended for individuals of either different capacity or of different levels of training and development. And in this connection, we each of us have to choose the type of Guruyoga we practice based on an honest assessment of our own state of development and our own faculties and disposition. In this connection, in the 7 points of mind training, we find in the root text the statement, of the two witnesses, choose the main one. The two witnesses are you as a witness to yourself, and others as a witness to you. The intention of the text here is that we cannot rely upon others' opinions of us as accurate assessments of where we're really at. Because finally, we know ourselves best. We see what's going on inside our minds. We know what our motivations really are. We know what our emotional state really is. It's quite possible to mimic or ape acceptable behavior. It's quite possible for us to learn what is expected and pretend to be much, much better than we are. For example, as a Dharma practitioner and teacher, it would be quite possible for me to pretend and to convince people that I'm a much better person than I am. So they might think, wow, he's amazing. He's had so many great lamas, received so much teaching, he knows so much, he's so good at this, he teaches so well, his presence is so inspiring. Surely he must be a great Dharma practitioner. Well, it's possible that someone whom people view that way could be a great Dharma practitioner. But history has shown us that it's also possible to be completely rotten inside and have everyone think you're wonderful. On the other hand, people could look at me and say, he's a scoundrel, he's a charlatan. In fact, he's insane. He's a sociopath. Maybe he's even possessed by demons. And the other thing about this, of course, is people can flip very, very quickly. 1 month, maybe even 1 week, people might look at me and say, oh, he's wonderful. And then as soon as I say or do something that doesn't meet their expectations, doesn't gratify their egos, then they might flip and say, he's a demon. Everything I thought was a great quality was really just a sign of his being possessed by a demon that exists to fool us and to take our autonomy and sovereignty away from us. I'm using myself as an example, Lama said, but this is true to some extent of all of us. We are all subject to the vicissitudes of whether public opinion or the opinion of those around us, or both. If we allow ourselves to be swayed by this, we'll have no stability, nor will we be able to honestly assess ourselves. If when people have a good opinion of us, we believe it too much, we may lose sight of what we know to be the truth inside of our own failings. And if we allow ourselves to be totally unseated or swept away when other people have a negative opinion of us, when they project their own unmet expectations on us, and so forth, then we can lose heart, lose confidence, and forget that we ourselves know ourselves best. So one thing that I wanted to mention in connection with this, the practice of Guruyoga today, is we need to rely upon our own knowledge of ourselves and be unswayed by the opinions of others.
Oh, there that day, Lama say that I can't mambo hutsari and huma yamado. Then the Lama map a control, Sanje Sama Miami, Sanje Tongung of the Lama Talatin in Johnson, Tarto Minga, that Lama Latin in Jongo, you putting out of Sama Hiri. Then the Yagatoni, then is some not tongue, then Salamdra in Nyori, then Salavionzo, that Lama Latin in Jongo, Yadan Gona, Lama Yadan Yermi, Kandro Gona, Kandro Yadan, Lama Yermi, Chujon Gona, Slapper the Kaju Sang, Lama Gombo Yermi, Zone. The Lama de Peta Chimbo in Basanap, Tam Jikin Jong, Lama in Basana, that it's Ocho, Tessi, Golderi, Terry. Then it Teranga Capso, Guruyoga, and also Dravate parts of Mavandawate, Recton Dorje to Mavandawari, the already. Then Recton Dorje told the Dravate, Ramboja and Hamatic, Song Salary Chenabala. Then it tin on the Lama Jin Chalok, Chevion, that the so called the Pendera Chimbori, Hajakori, Yotan, the son Netico. Tatu Garga, Yenda Yinla Dambati, and the Kaharimato Jag, the Korana Tel and Dravachimbo, reading it Zogor, Tate, Jajajate Marit, and Dravachimbo, Koni Mavari Dolly. Then Dalangola Jamro the Simji, the Yoma, Jamro the Simji, the main, the Jamro Simji, the Mountbal, and then Yamni Singi, Charanzo, Jamro Simji, the Recton Dorje told Jamro Simji. Lama Gomson Golamato got the 10 rogo, the Tinjoni, then in the Gomro, the Dinant and Zo Tangoya, again the Chokorgoya, and then Yamni Si, Gona Mountbala, the Jamro Simji, the Tingon Circle got it, the Hakowaji, didn't a Yonima Hyundai.
I won't go on at length about the importance or significance of the Guru. We discussed this yesterday. It's sufficient today for me to cite the quotation, "Before the Guru, there was not even the Buddha. The siddhis or attainment of 1,000 Buddhas come from the Guru alone." If we have this attitude, recognizing that all blessings come from the Guru alone, then we will receive blessings very quickly. Even if we're meditating upon a yidam, we should view that yidam and our Guru as indivisible. If we are meditating upon a Dakini, we should view that Dakini and our Guru as indivisible. And especially in the Kagyu tradition, we emphasize that if we are meditating upon a wisdom Dharmapala, we should view that wisdom Dharmapala and our Guru as inseparable. In that way, even practices that are not overtly Guruyoga become Guruyoga. And therefore, everything we practice is one practice, and this brings blessings most quickly. Another thing I want to say before we get into it, so to speak, is that this text, this Guruyoga liturgy, while not the same, of course, distinct from the better-known Song of Awareness, Emptiness, which follows it in the order of our book, has many of the same features. And so in explaining it, I will be citing the commentary on the Song of Awareness, Emptiness, which commentary is also contained in this book, which Rinpoche taught many years ago. And therefore, I'll give you references to where to find that, what page to find those things in the book, so that you can go back and study these things. Of greatest significance among this are the particular significances and benefits of imagining the particular costume or worn or apparel worn by Terchen Barway Dorje in this Guruyoga, as in both this one and in the Song of Awareness, Emptiness, he appears in his own form. At the same time, of course, as you'll notice, if you're used to practicing the other one, there are differences. This Guruyoga does not contain the 7 branches of accumulation that reference the practice of leapover that we find in the Song of Awareness, Emptiness. And also, this Guruyoga does not have its own refuge in bodhicitta liturgy. So if you wish to practice this Guruyoga, the very secret Avadhuti Guruyoga, before beginning it, use the refuge and bodhicitta verse from the Song of Awareness, Emptiness, which you will find on the immediately following page.
All that's talking. Teni di nandeni da yangsa Avadhuti Lama namjur gyoso serya menri da Avadhuti jene wamala dine Lama namjur gomjula gita hekole. Teni randu nando Avadhuti nang nyingwuti de pemandabji wu nyedda tengde zabalama ne song randu serya de rang ke lute dinana mixer kiyo mari de yadam kanong ke gongore de ko yadam kanong ngarang lopote tamar lopote pa jangzi ke lu ko lu laru gomba jeram lu na ransem somba na ye yadam kapju karmo amna sozo ke yadam kanong ke परपायमना हिंजेना ता यदाम कानो के रखोरे कब्जी के यदाम घरे गमना रखोले सो वो ते यदाम कानो के तेने तेला लोबो दे को तोंबा छुमा फुताबाताबा पे ससरला नंग सरवा को लोबो दे शादा पापा जोदा न्यावा जोमा द लोंगा जाव निने मेवान राव तोंसंगी lopo de man nang de ko pa khangba tongba na ge khangba tongba na ge tendru che sasar la nang sar la tendru che ge yadam la jeran re go di bu se de khang tong do ka wa zo ge ka wa ji ya zo ge na ge za ba ma de ji bo re sam no do za ba ma de Avadhuti di nang de ne teni di nying ge bu te ge de nying ge nying ka chu chu ko le te ge de ne teni Jumi Desam Penya Davaten Song Recton Tina Pema Deco Nima Dava Desamje De Depa Samjung Ola Yadri Depa Samjung Ola Tamwa Depa Chazogolo, Depete Pagongo, Pema, Dama Jepare, Kamar, Pema, Karl Marvin Dang Chadil, Tendriche Pema Carpo, Karla Marvin Dang Chadil, Tendruche Pemare, Jepare, Pema Dama Jepare, Tendruche Gom, De Depete Pake, Ngovan Sonzi. Ti Tentane, Chazogolo, Dava. Ta nyeda ze ti ta intane dona davidin regla ko ta dangwe te pa ko ngo te dawa ge din ti ta intane yichi chi te pa ko ngo te nyima ge din te dang don yichi sum chi te pa ko ngo te ta pe man dama ji te ta nyima da dawa ni de leblem da ni te dawa de nyima leblem Tendrike gomde, Tito tene teni zabalama gongo liris.
Hola, that kind of kashe doya. Uma, ngombo en chikala na mawayana.
Uma te sakala namara.
Lasso, de katin chire. Katin yipa de, pema dama jepa de, chitanso de, nampa chiktuna, tene ninke chichi kolo tsunje yimbala, de Chats pema dabje dang chepa chasan umage nanlayana yana dama chepa de chiro mara nang chasan umana kadin sumpa de pema nima chetan so de ne lama ke kode shiwa am shima tore ma to cho chempo mare de in the pema nima dawa sum degi gorem yana pema dawa nima sum yana Jongitona pema nima dawa.
Pema nima dawa di pema de gom tito de dawa tito nima de gom.
Meme. Pema?
Pema?
De tola dawa ere. De tola nima. Laso?
Jumi ti samjungo. Yong koraga nana de
nima dawa
ya. Pe nida ze. Ate ko yege korem keja hi tang kri ma to. Chi jak tang de tendri se kan do.
Laso.
Do yong Vajracharya Dorje told the Nangi Sonkando dede. Tate penny davatings.
Oh, yeah. Ritondo Titulun and Sondoa.
Tina
Sondoa. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, looking at the text on page 239, and because we're going to be going back and forth between the text and the commentary to the other Guruyoga, I'll give you page numbers each time we switch. So the first line says, "My body is appearance-emptiness inside my Avadhuti." Okay, so the first sentence is, "My body is appearance-emptiness." This means that you imagine, of course, your body really is appearance-emptiness, as was discussed yesterday. But what you have to imagine here in the meditation is that your body is empty appearance, appearing not as what you perceive yourself to be, but as the body of your yidam. It may be any of the yidams of our tradition, whichever one you practice most and therefore are most comfortable imagining yourself as. It could be the white kachari, who is often used as the basis for Guruyoga practice, or it could be Kila or Yamantaka or whomever. In any case, in this Guruyoga, you do not imagine yourself in your ordinary form, but in the form of the yidam. And the body of the yidam is empty appearance in two senses. The first is that while it is the vivid appearance of the yidam's body, it is nevertheless unreal. It is empty of substantial or material existence. Secondly, it is also hollow. It is called a hollow enclosure, which means that if you were zooming around inside the body of your yidam, it would look like a tent of light of the color of the yidam. So let's say it's white kachari, then if you were zooming around inside, there would be nothing in it. It would be as empty as, let's say, a balloon. Now, the traditional example, which Lama said, so that you know, I'm not making this up myself, is an inflated placenta, which is what Tibetan children used to play with because they didn't have balloons, so they played with inflated placentas. But a balloon will work just as well, if I may take the liberty of supplying the analogy. And so the body of the deity is essentially a membrane that is hollow. So you could see all the things, including the digits and so on, from the inside, as though they were just a hollow membrane. But that membrane, unlike a balloon or an inflated placenta, if you insist on it, is not made of any kind of substantial skin or substance. It is a membrane of light, okay? Right. So that's the meaning of the first half of the first line, my body is appearance-emptiness. The second half of the first line, inside my Avadhuti. The Avadhuti is the central channel. So when you imagine the deity body, in this case, rather than having to imagine a number of channels and a number of chakras and whatnot, you only have to imagine one channel. That's the central channel. And it goes from the top of the head to the bottom of your trunk. It is straight. It is also hollow. It is luminous. And it is white on the outside and red on the inside. Okay. Now we can turn to the second line. In the center of my heart, in the middle of an 8-petal lotus. In the center of my heart here does not mean in the center of the physical organ, which is obviously not exactly, I guess, centered in your body. It means in the center of your Avadhuti, your central channel, at the level of your heart. So in the center of my heart, in the middle of an 8-petal lotus. Now, if the Avadhuti is like, as Lama said, a pillar going straight up through the center of the deity body, a hollow pillar, in the center of it, in the center of the Avadhuti, and entirely inside the Avadhuti, is an 8-petal lotus flower. One of the reasons why the lotus flower has 8 petals is because the heart chakra has 8 channels. However, don't think that these petals are outside the Avadhuti. They're all inside the Avadhuti. Okay? Then, third line. Atop a sun and moon is my root guru. Here we need to turn to the commentary. Page 246, middle of the page. Don't look for it now, you won't find it unless you're really quick. But just make a note of where to look later. This gives us a little bit of a clue as to the order of the these three parts of the seat. Clearly, the root guru is seated on a lotus, sun, and moon disk in the Avadhuti. And the order given in the text is that, as you read it, lotus, sun, and moon. However, if we look at the commentary, it implies, it explains that the significance of this threefold seat is the three aspects of what are called threefold faith. The lotus of aspiration, the moon of awe, and the sun of belief. There are three aspects to faith. The first is aspiration or desire, wanting what the guru has, wanting to become like the guru. The second is awe, being amazed at the guru's attributes. And the third is belief, believing that the Guru actually possesses these awesome attributes to which you aspire yourself. So here, the order of the seat from the bottom up, Lama says, is lotus, moon, and sun. And again, as we saw yesterday, the moon and sun are flat discs of light.
Okay, oh, deri, that tea taught any to some Sanjay Tamji in the Pongovo, then the Zabalama, Mute, Dina Yon, with the Hajang Chalok, Jang Loji, Peya Pumo, Lau, Serita, Sound Tomukala, correct young, and Nim Ki Chang, Sani Yepena, Cordon Simple, Lever Party, Drr. So that tinima tesare Java Vena, Tangu the Hachang Chalo, Jango Carasayate, One when a carry de Oliri young Konak and Chalo de Hachang Chalo, Kukar Conjata, Jango Georgia, Mapu Pocket Sonzi and so on, Mapu Pocket Sonzi, Tateco Jiong Yu Tamjina, Mapu Pocket. How about Tamjik, Tracheria, the Kukar Pocoyade? Jumink, Nazo, young open Nello, Jumin Roger, or Majupaton Roger, Dean Sonzi, Sonzi, the Hakor, Sonzat and Sonzi Seriade, Hako Godri, Caris in Kukar Pocon, Caris in Habas of Tracher Caris in Chichum, some Machapa, your consort Tracheriata, Kukar Pocoyadella, Kukar Chano Gedela, Mapupa, Mapu Lopan Jopa. Tendo consola pe carezo galero taco tela pe ha leba cheke ko ki chimbore tendrike song diri ten de chena batam ji kale kale ma yong ti nana zaila ko ha ko holiri ko karpo de ranzo mapu lanzo ta Yonti Yonsuzo Jake, Nancy wanted to be Sauk per Mopo, Tenda the Tangha Trekpatamji, certain non toba, the dancing, Tangha Trekpazena, Trekpazena also so dancing, Dadans and Bajate, Dorgo, they tamji pass certain non tobacco, the Tingata and Tinata, Roa recto, Rodo, Hebdelan group, Chonzika. Chu de pe mesipa chu nam de chu de la kare se na sanje ge chu de la nam de di nam do ki son do mate la hedar da bayu tin hi timbo yu se ka le kali pa phe bo phe ko le genda batam ji de de matam ji la sem khan de ge pe lu bo cha thap ko le hebde ti thap ko le chu de ge de ta chu ngar me jong ba da chalen rowan darwa ke sar da kong ke ra jang ke chang le jang ke de Telegan Sonzi, Telegan Dorwa, Telegan Do, correct younger. The Tendali change Conga, Masomba Dopa, Masomba Dopa, Maromba, Tinda, Tandratamji, Dorje, Trabo Galela, Todo Mebage, Sonzila, Yadam Purhinke, and Sonzi, and so Yadam Purparilla. Namja Kolo Zep Jeba Jere, Telan Kolo Zegarden, Kolo Namjagan Kolo Zep Jeba and so on, the Lagi Kartagan has a song on there. Then Kolo Jerapar and Dragoro, the Yadam Prikin Sonzi, the Hinjin Sonzi, Namjagan Joro, then Ele, then Arang Jutan, but the Taka Mambona. Chunkoreya, Yorgo doze, the Jorgali, that Tito, the only has a Sapodoa. The Erna Sapo, the Teta, Lagin and other confidence or then other confidence, Popa Yori. Then the Yadam Prikin Sonzi, yes, on the Levanite. That Tendruke song, then it tend to correct Tata. Sonia de Zota Terry, the China Batamjika, Mazela, Teni Teha Kotokodri, Terry. Teni Tachi Chazogolero, Tin something and Colon Simple Lever Party, Durs, Yombase, Sa Yombake, Chumchik Lemagatang, the Pedon Jepe, there is Chumchik in Dundawating, the Pem or the Carisina called Chinsin Nusumje. Chinsin Nusumje Dani Yemba Sonziri. Chinzi Nusam, Chimba that they Yonana Lev Colley, and Chinzi Nusam Jidani, Tinko Levan Hiram Sonzi, Barasong that they call Metode Zewake. Ninja Sonzi, Zewa Medong, so Changmak Medong, but the Zewagan Sonzi, second or Ninja, Zewagan Sonzi. Dito then Levan Yobate, D Caps Levante, take by Yangtze, Zoba Timbo, Semlong Mengag de Yonso Zoba, Mengag Levan, Tundrukela, Yartanga, Hirab Potetela, Denusum, the Judy Timbo, Yala Sobake, Sonzi, Yambata, Hersenk Sonzi, here called D Caps take by Yangtze. Lami Ata Zoba Timbo, Menga, Semlong Mengag de Tamjikan, Sonzi, Todo Meba Kongoma. Yinla cheat tobacco, Sonzig, the bought days only. They told a Nupag, Dragatamji, Dirtabad, and Ada Drawatamji, Dirtabag and Sonzilla, Hirab Raja de Titola Yoba, Tin Sonzi, but Saya Yonik Zondu Jade, that in Sonzi, Lema Hiram Sonzi, Barsi, or that day, you say something.
Written the Tolo, you know. Then Japorotap should be or in a casalpum and the Mato
Jibari,
read
they Yambading
Mabuda or
Haka confidence or confidence carry your body in the Cuba. Not the lad of the Nahoya Hajan Gawayo. The Avadhuti, the Avadhuti. Near Lagin then in the treat, he traveled the cure. Then that lad of Ricton Dorje told me. Naga Lagin, Hyonyo, Yin La Drop time you treat Lonzama, Hyonyo, Hambag Hindromado. Then other confidence about the Lagin Korake, Yala, Trawaja, song, the taken other. You do that the Kunima.
Don't let the Duncha Dupa Remato, then return to the Tolo, the Dun Chickbar.
Jerry, take a Mavendo, the Ning de Mavzel, Mavrit. So they Lama Gasonyo.
So continuing on page 239, the fourth line says, so we have Atapa Sananamun as my root guru. Fourth line says, as he actually appears with the attire and locks of a mountain. Locks here, for those of you, well anyway, means long hair, uncut hair. Doesn't mean he has padlocks. People actually ask. And it says he wears a lotus hat or crown, a brown coat. That means more like a cloak. It doesn't mean a coat with sleeves and stuff. And a robe resplendent with designs in gold. Now, that will be explained using the commentary. His inner robe and skirt are white and bound by a green belt in which is an approach kila. Of his two hands, the right one overcomes obstacles with an action kila marked by a wheel. His left hand teaches Dharma, holding the stem of a lotus. On the center of the blooming lotus are the book of the supreme vehicle and the blazing great weapon of knowledge. Now, Lama's pointed out that he is so devoted to this particular Guruyoga practice that while he received the generic instruction on all the others as well, he really pestered Karma Tupten to teach him this one in exhaustive detail. And therefore he has confidence in it, in the details, because they were explained to him one by one. And that is why he knows that you can apply most of the commentary to the longer one, the Song of Awareness, Emptiness. Most details in there to this, because what you're imagining is pretty much the same. Basically, we can think of this very secret Avadhuti Guruyoga as something of a more concise version of the Song of Awareness, Emptiness. And although the words of the liturgy are different, what is to be imagined and the significance of what is to be imagined are the same. So, first of all, it says he has the attire and locks of a mantran. That means his robes, while they're of several colors, as we'll see, basically he's wearing a white skirt and a white inner robe. So he's wearing white. And his hair is long. It is uncut. The significance of this is very important, Lama said. Sometimes the significance of this is overlooked. And it's seen simply as some kind of insignia or custom. But it has great significance. The meaning of the uncut hair and the white robes is the absence of fabrication or alteration of a dharmata. Since ultimately what we are seeking to practice is resting in dharmata, the nature of things, without attempting to alter it in any way. It can't be altered, but we're always trying. Since we are attempting to cultivate a meditation that consists of not altering dharmata, the uniform or apparel of a mantrin or tantrika, a yogi, reflects that. And the white robes means that they're unfabricated. They're not dyed a different color. They're not gussied up, as we would say. And the uncut hair represents here not slovenliness or adherence to outmoded tradition, but simply being unaltered, being unfabricated. He wears a lotus hat. I think Lama's going to get to the significance of the lotus crown a little later because he didn't dwell on it. There's a lot to be said about that. A brown coat and a robe resplendent with designs in gold. His inner robe and skirt are white and bound by a green belt in which is an approach kila. So let's turn to page 247. Don't actually turn to it, but make a note to turn to it. Which describes what he is wearing. Unfabricated. Now, we're going to be using the commentary, but out of order. So you're going to have to read the whole thing and get used to it. He makes no distinction. He has long hair and a white skirt because he is unaltered and spontaneously perfect. Because all his qualities are fully developed, he wears the dark red brocade cloak, that's what's called the brown coat here, of overpowering all that appears and exists. So the dark red or brown is the color of power. And so he represents this to show that because he's realized the nature of everything, he overpowers all that appears and exists. He wears the dark blue coat under that, his robe, of subduing the haughty through forceful mantra. Dark blue is the signal color of Vajracharya among the vehicles, so it represents that through his realization of the Vajracharya, he subdues the haughty through forceful mantra. He wears a saffron dharma robe of leading the 6 types of beings to peace and happiness, and the green belt, which is specified here in the liturgy as well, of activity that tames beings. So the green belt, the reason that the belt that holds his skirt up is green is because his activity tames beings, and green is the color of activity. In that belt is an approach kila of meteoric iron, and it is in his belt as a sign that he has attained the power of force that liberates the vicious. An approach kila is one that is blessed while doing the approach practice of Kila, and therefore he wears it always inseparable from himself in his belt at his waist. So that brings us to, he wears a lotus hat, which we'll leave for a minute later, a brown coat, and a robe resplendent with designs in gold. That's the saffron robe that was described above. His inner robe and skirt are white and bound by a green belt in which is an approach kila. Okay, now we turn to the position of his hands. Of his two hands, the right one overcomes obstacles with an action kila marked by a wheel. His right hand holds a kila. It says in the commentary on the bottom of page 246, his right hand brandishes a kila marked by a wheel, the combined scepter of his yidams, Vajracharya and Yamantaka. Now, many people have mistakenly depicted this kila as the upper part of this kila as a dharma chakra. In other words, a wheel like a ship's wheel. It is not, Lama said, with emphasis, it is not a dharma chakra. It is a weapon wheel, or chakram. They're still present in India, and in fact, well, anyway, a chakram. And so it looks like what you probably would call a throwing star, or shuriken or shaken. It's a wheel with usually a hollow center or hub, so that it can be placed on one's finger, which is how you throw it, with 8 points. Instead of spokes, it's got points that look like flattened arrowheads. And if you want to see what this looks like, the statue of Terchen Barway Dorje in the library has been, the scepter, the kila and wheel were designed by Lama based upon the precise instructions of his grandfather Karma Tupten. So that's what it looks like. So if you've been doing these Guruyogas and imagining a Dharma chakra, stop today. It's not a Dharma chakra, it's a weapon wheel. Because it represents the unity of his two yidams. Terchen Barway Dorje had two principal yidams, Vajracharya, represented by the blade and the rest of the kila, and Yamantaka, represented by the wheel, which is the upper end of the kila. So the wheel is where you would often find three faces, or sometimes a Vajra scepter, or sometimes something like that. Instead of that, there's a wheel, and it's a weapon wheel. Go look in the library to see what it looks like. So that's what he's holding in his right hand. His left, in the mudra of protection, holds at his heart the three families in the form of the text says his left teaches Dharma, holding the stem of a lotus on the center of the blooming lotus, or the book of the supreme vehicle and the blazing great weapon of knowledge. Okay. His left hand is in front of his heart, and it's making the gesture of teaching the Dharma, which is physically identical to what used to be the gesture okay in the West. It's like that. It doesn't mean okay. It represents a Dharma wheel. The joined thumb and finger represent the hub of the wheel. This causes the three other fingers to form spokes. They represent the spokes of the wheel. So it represents a Dharma wheel. You don't have to visualize a Dharma wheel there, okay? But between the thumb and a forefinger here, not thumb and ring finger, as in other cases, that's a different gesture. Thumb and forefinger here. Between them is the end of the stem of a lotus. The lotus stem passes to his left, and the actual flower blooms beside and slightly above his left shoulder. On top of that center of that lotus is a book or a volume of the teachings of the Supreme Vehicle. Now, we often visualize, for example, Arya Manjushri and sometimes other figures, great masters and so on, with a book and a sword. And the book is variously, Lama said to be the Prajna Paramita, or sometimes in the case of a Vajracharya master, the four tantras, and so on and so forth. Here it is very specific. It is a book of the teachings of the Supreme Vehicle. The Supreme Vehicle is Ati Yoga, Dzogchen. So the teachings contained in that book are the complete teachings of the mind class, the space class, and the instruction class, the three levels or sections of teaching of the Great Perfection. On top of that book, not exactly weighing it down, but floating just above it with the tiniest space in between, is the blazing great weapon of knowledge. That is a sword, and usually the bottom handle, part of the handle of the sword is a half vajra. Blazing means that the sword emits flames, as usual. Now, if we go to the commentary on page 247, it tells us that his left hand holds at his heart the three families in the form of the book of knowledge marked by the sword of power and the white lotus of benevolence. That is to say that these three scepters held together, the lotus with the book on top of that, and the sword above that, so that's three, right? And I'm taking it slowly because people practice this and then they have questions about how it all fits together, represent two things. First, that he himself embodies the three attributes of an awakened being. Benevolent love, represented by the lotus, wisdom or knowledge, represented by the book, and the power or ability to actually help beings, represented by the sword. Now, although we associate the sword and book particularly with Manjushri alone, in fact, in this case, the commentary makes clear that these represent that he embodies the lords of the three families. He is Manjushri, but he is also Vajrapani and Avalokita. He is all three at once because he has achieved those qualities of awakening that they respectively embody. So those are his scepters, and that's where we've got to.
Hola, Teri. Tene Tata Lama Sonenda, the Vajaka Kordenga, and then Hima Hioma, Vajako Chinambaka, Manjurumbajiga Songyarte, Tata commentary in the Sedla, commentary on the page Jebor Ori, the Vaja Tela, says on Malos on the commentary Lamagaya, Georgian, or Pesarboha Kotokari, take a Mandrik Pari Yomari, then the Vajak Sonzi Teri.
So Lama said that the translator mentioned that we had temporarily skipped over commenting on the lotus hat or lotus crown at the beginning. The reason is that this is explained both clearly and at length in the commentary, which Barduramshe taught many years ago in connection with the longer Guruyoga. So the explanation of the lotus crown or lotus hat begins on the middle of page 247 and ends in the middle of page 250. So you can read that, and you hopefully will read that, and then you will understand the significance of that. Thus.
So then tell Dor Dupare Kuna, then Sonzi Kare, Pega the Kona Kare, Medeki, or then Sonzi Kare, the Hako Gore, Lama Tamja, Wajanam, the Yaya is exhibiting now, Mari Lama Sama, Wajan and Ori. The Kare Sina, Sava Lama, the Dunami and Darame, but Yozo, Yoyu, Samba, Tin Sonzi. We are the Sava Lama can Sonzi, Rigdate, so Rigdat Sava Lama, Din Sonzi. Tata tekere pandra na tsaba lama nga chongzi ka tarja tsenga na son tsenga jin khong tsaba lama pe ge che khu che ka tsaba lama nga yore de na ne zo de ko tong ke tata re semi bien no tong ke de lama de dharma wa so re de na khong na lama nga de pe ge chen bo ka lama nga yore din chongzi ka tsaba tarja tsenga na son wo ya ka zo na wo din chongzi zo de nam da go jin go ri go go ji de kran ta de
That the T-shirt about that so labbi made the console children.
Oh, the Amazon children.
Then it damn the mobile.
We got the Zaylam the children.
She Lama. So the details of the Donna did the Kong Zawe Lama and Guru Rumshi Yermek Sunji Yin Lama Degreve.
That's our Lama
So the details of the lotus crown, its significance, you will read when you study after this, pages 247 to 250 in the book. But to give you, if you'll pardon the pun, a heads up on what it basically represents, and by extension, why lamas wear hats. We are a very hat-filled religion. Well, other religions also, but we're so filled with hats that we are sometimes colloquially identified by our hats: black hat, yellow hat, red hat, orange hat, green hat. Well, there actually only one lama had a green hat. Chameke ushate ngoniana peshu jangure. Kamachame's hat was a green lotus crown. But anyway, I said I wasn't going to confuse you, and now I'm doing it. Yeah. It always, Lama said, and we need to remember this, because it always means one thing. The hat represents the root guru of the wearer. So lamas don't wear hats to show rank. People have that idea that they wear hats to look impressive and dignified and to display their rank. It doesn't actually represent their rank. It's not about hierarchy. There is hierarchy, but the hats are not about hierarchy. The wearing of the hat is done for one reason and one reason alone. So get this under your hat, let's say. It represents to the wearer, through the sensation of the hat on their head, and to the viewer, through seeing it, the inseparability of that person, the wearer, from their root guru. Okay? So the hat represents not the rank of the wearer, but their root guru. Always. That their root guru is always on top of their head. Always, always, always. That's what fundamentally, beyond all the, as said, we have infinite hats. And he gave some examples, and I said, I'm not going to give them because then it gets confusing, and then they're going to come away thinking that Terchen Barway Dorje is wearing so-and-so's hat or so-and-so. Let's leave all that out. You'll read the book, 247 to 250, middle of the page to middle of the page. But the bottom line is the hat represents the root guru of the wearer, and so the inseparable presence of your root guru above your head.
Yeah. Sometimes long commentary is making not best, making worst, making confused. Yeah, I remember this. I have experienced this a lot, and try to long conversation, long path stroking, long commentary, it's make worst. Yeah, thank you.
Shingdong la tane naksal matong.
Yeah.
I said we have an expression for that. Was it losing the trees to the forest or not seeing the forest for the trees? Yeah. It's easier to say in Tibetan somehow.
That's yogin. Yogin is, I think, is more smart than the scholars because they're giving pattern stroking is only short, 1 lane, 2 lanes, making do practice. Now go practice. 1 month, come back. I will give to you another things. That's just more. They are smartest than the other scholars. I understand that is meaning pattern stroking. Yeah, thank you. Okay, te gomsa lama te nyankala gomsa do. Teni lama te ke jimdring toka samna jiwo ko dorji gongo ne sam drosam towi nye chertens jiwo lama te ke tambaro dorji zava lama nyankala gomyo pa lama te ke jiwo ko dorji gongo yege omkarpo rembar song dorji gongo yege amarpo tokar tok dorji gongo yege hongombore gom di tok utene nyemjing kore tengda nyemjing kore tadela pe dawa da pe mayo mari nyemjing kore ke tengda hongyek karpore gom ta karpo de ta zu zawa mala jartan he tangmang bo de karla marwa se ya de khonrega komdo karpo yamba da khon desolon chongji hyokchen bo sari hongyek karpore gom di hongyek karpo de ko ute ke nang tamji ko momba nang drome sargya nangi uje drmen savas pa sarsangi lama khonrega ka nang machi de rang tongra ke satamji jole de ke sarsangi Sharam na the drome pugan nagi. That tundriki some the tongo, that him masa pata yang gom, machi pata yang the gom, yang the gom. Tamagon pinkamarida, gongo, him as magon, chakon wag marida, one wag mari. Katsi in the gongo, yang go drome saranagi. Ramu yikin trop along the stars, lama konago, de masi honyeko data, lama konago, take. Di drome de wu take ko saname ba ko sarsangi rozu samni samno tangina de ke semni korana pe sarcha le kare sem korana go ngo sarcha o mi ke jebar hegorle sem amjin sem jirangin u sarwa o son don sini te banana hyong sem korana go ngo de ngone samno tong de u sarwa re gara ge samno tong go ma se jambo re na tebe re pa tebe sonen da namdo ga ma jawa dindru hela hin sona 남의 규점이 이렇게 힘으로 거래다. 등주기가 원절이 등주기의 힘선의 유념선나 남의 규면 더블이 유념으로 거래. 생코나데 우사로를 거래. 딘 총지가 다다데 데 라마가 우다 홍예가 우다 더속에 우데 데 삼노 땅고데 데다 라마데랑 생 예미리 오다 데 삼노 땅.
The last 4 lines of the visualization of the Guru's form say, first, in his 3 places are the 3 syllables. So at or in his forehead is a white Om, which represents the body Vajra or Vajra body of all Buddhas. At or in his throat is a red A, which represents the speech Vajra, the Vajra speech of all Buddhas. And at or in his heart is a blue Hum, which represents the mind Vajra, the Vajra mind of all Buddhas. In the center of his heart, the text goes on a sun disk is a white Hum syllable. The sun disk in the center of his heart is alone. There is no moon disk and lotus below it, other than the ones he's sitting on. But I mean, in his heart, there's just a sun disk. And standing upright on that sun disk is a white Hum. The explanation for why this Hum is white is partly because it corresponds to his color. The Guru is seen here as white with a red gleam. And then there are no doubt other reasons as well, Lama said. The text continues, its light dispels the darkness of all obscurations. Now he said this is very important, and this is something that one needs to cultivate through repeated meditation. You can't just think that this is there and then drop it and not pay attention to this. You have to meditate on this repeatedly. The light of the hum fills not only his own body and then extends outward, radiates outward and fills your own. It fills even outside the empty enclosure of your body as the body of the Yidam. The brighter and more radiant, more brilliant, you imagine this light coming from the white hum in the heart of the Guru, the more effective it's going to be in unleashing or revealing that luminosity that is your mind's nature. And this is of key importance. Lama said, for example, even in the sutras, the Mahayana sutras, it says, mind is not mind, mind is luminosity. So it is through recognizing the brilliant luminosity, the brilliant cognitive intensity of mind, that we overcome the undercurrent of nagging thoughts. As long, Lama said, as we remain allegiant to the nagging thoughts that run through our minds constantly as an undercurrent, we will never get beyond them. The only way to get beyond them is to outshine them with the fundamental fearless brilliance of mind itself, which here is represented by the visual symbol of light coming from the Guru's heart. But it is more than represented, it is embodied by that. So when you imagine that this light coming from the hum in the Guru's heart fills his body, your body, and all appearances, that is actually purifying. That is actually removing the obscurations or darkness. As it says, its light dispels the darkness of all obscurations. Just as when you turn on a light, the darkness in the room is gone. This is the actual removal of that darkness. So, accordingly, it concludes, he is brilliant amidst the expanse of his own vibrant light of wisdom. So this vibrant light is the vibrant light of wisdom. It's not ordinary or random light. It's the wisdom of your root Guru manifesting in the visualization as light that illuminates and fills and pervades and reaches everything.
Oh, that's that. Then the Hondega Tonda Kayan Bachi Nabaha Kogor Javatamji Topgyal Yamba Tenga, so the Janda Jeram Hindo, the Taki in the call the Hondeg and Sini Mambo, he in the call the Chinaba Gongo, Meriki Mambo, Mayo, Terry. Then it tell a thing. 다 무구침보 그거네 더 소란다 거다 손데블토리 다 거니 삽지 야미 다 삽지 마야나 삽지 하 고사리 쳐서 그 의견은 저 다대가서 그 다버힌도 대히리 다 소란데 바리 소란데는 살랍 효과리 다 라마 공고야 그 짐시카레스 라마 친다고 가서도 옹효시 가서 리디 오리데 라마 코넨다고 가서 마르그 접사다 하고 말이와 라마데 그지다니 그예 이싱아이 다니 Lama Terido. Nazo Tama Gugi Hingai Dani Yango the Higo, Sangha Dorje below he in the Tanga Sogo Pombo, the Gugi Hingai Dani, same day, Sano Tango Mato Jaga, Nazo the Zorbor, the Topgyal Sano Taya Mirida, then the Sanghala Lota Gitsari. 자와 록다 지차리다 가서 록다 서야데 든르빈데 용거리 라마데 거기 힘아이 다니 연바데 연바를 삼노마다나 라마라 록다 지차리 소소게 샘주다 거기 힘아이 다니 얘는 예욕 처다 연바데 삼노마다나 소소게 상하라 록다 지차리다 디 삼노 땅거리 개체모 제리 디 서다 라마데 간연바다 대다 데니 소소 든르케 연바라 연바 고히 호존네 다 소란데임 콜리 다 된상데
So that is the first part, the generation of the support, the visualization. And then there is a bit of small print that says, with the longing of devotion. That is the segue to an instruction on how to engage in the prayer, the repetition of which will form the main body of the session. Now, the reason why it mentions the longing of devotion is the longing or yearning of devotion based on the threefold faith that was described earlier is the key point. Not only to, the one thing I forgot that he said. With regard to the syllable hum, the hum in the Guru's heart, you've all received plenty of instruction on the meaning of hum. Basically, it embodies the mind of all Buddhas and expressly the 5 wisdoms and so on. There are lots of meanings that are plugged into it. It would be incorrect simply to say it symbolizes or represents the mind of all Buddhas. It is the mind of all Buddhas. Understand the difference. Okay, so then the prayer with the longing of devotion. If you, the attitude here, as you'll see pretty much spelled out in the prayer that is coming up, is to view your root guru as the embodiment of, or as having the 4 kayaks and the 5 wisdoms. To be an authentic guru, your root guru must actually have the 4 kayaks and 5 wisdoms. So when you view the guru that way, you are not pretending. You are seeing things as, or considering them to be, what they are. Therefore, whenever we don't see our guru as the embodiment of the 4 kayaks and the 5 wisdoms, this is a wrong view. And because it is a wrong view of the guru, it is actually a wrong view of all the Vajracharya. Therefore, that is the wrong view of everything. This is a key point. It's not a wrong view in the sense that, in the sense that it is a harmful view. It's a wrong view because it is a mistaken view. We are trying to see reality as it is. It is not going to help if we invest in opinions that are based upon seeing things as they are not.
Emma ho so tape ngom char ke chegri da emma ho se ya de sans ke ngom char cheng sa de da de ma mo ng so song do ro le nga sans ke de lo jong me de emma ho se ya de dang go re song
emma ho re de la e ho
de emma ho dan da hol ma re ta
yinang de sik ngoma de e ho re oi
ngen den do re e ho re da e se ya de da ko e ho se ya de tik pe ngom cha wa da sem 조안 아호 이호 제선다 베 데와다 서로 기보다 가보다 든르게 다 촌난다게 무다의 인사리다
데 렉자 직부인 사마레 데 베이 렉자 인지 사말라요 호 세나 사마게 호 세데
데 그런
데 치잡 게츠게 랑진지 전앙게 츠게
랑이 내추럴
에호
내추럴 램네
데 못사와 버파 니카로 네 호스나 페나 바유네 mom보도와 에호 오 세세도와
데 에호 저건 신비랑이 난동건 통조스 라마데 거 저거 신다 베지 다고 산제게 송반데 신상보 섬제데 베지 정보 접절라서 반 신다 베지게 김베 랑이 데니고 난동 열메바 난동게 열메바 공고 단 통조 쳔보리 라마딘 야르네 잠니tin 셈나 가와다 쪼아 쳔메바리 쳔콜 데인두 라마딘 통조리 라바르다 라마텔 뇽몽바 자와니니메 라마탄라이나 동반지니 마니 든르케 심진라 데와터 타고게 모람자케 나랑 동바데 마게 통마 다데 심지 탐지라 데와랑이 게 타베코 심지 탐니 뇽몽랑이 게당 컨트롤랑이 게타코 삼니르게 모람 양니야네 자케 나라 무사로 다 라마 망보 든르린도 지니 나니 깨자히라 히고 마리 라마 산조 삼바데 지니 가와티 타고도 랑가진 모제 와산도 딱데 인제기 대린 통조르스 된 바로 돌지 대어리 소로한데서 줄루 신gel업케스 네 소로 제제도 칠란데네 나게 줄루데 루지 주데 주마 루지 주 루주 셈주 나주 나소 드바장조르 루게 주데 신gel업케스 라마 체란타브 신gel업케 점보 소로한데 콜 롱크 창양 추다 작동게 투도스 라마가 거 송데 롱주 조버거리 라마가 더 트버거 송데 롱주 조버거 덴데 창양 추다 창부양게 추다 라마가 추 송네 마니 나랑 샘데 협대티나 마 루차게 노홀레 라마사데 그 추히인데 랑잉게 고 마잉게 깨자히데나 나와레 니마타바 덴라고 데와 치메바르지네 샘랑게 라다달니 바타바 샘 요토콜리 덴라고 콩나오리 자양 추다 작동그 투도스 고 라마데 송투니 마니 저 샘주 도르타바 덴르히 온 데다 라마 롱거게 응고 작동 예마 작동 자양게 추다 소란데서 자롱 사동도 도르호스 데자레 네 소란데베 네 소란데데 데게 누바데게 지게 산랍라 자 타이 롱섬데 고 차차마랑 서도 소르추네 던르기 용어 효제 산네 데 따와 사동 또 도르제 샘코란 사동 예미도 고월 던르기게 도로지 다 자롱 택섬 랑종 추인데 샘코란 사동 고월 대동 고월 램코리 왕예바 왕데게 갑서 왕 담보니바 삼바 야완의 사동 예미 대동 예미 렉동 예미 고 레겐다 쳔완데 마토고디 히에코레 디나게리 사동도 도르제 추거 렉동 산제 냐제게 딘저세 라마데 톡 추거리 거 저거 송롱거 토 추거 긍어리 추거 롱거 저거 섬정어데 라마데 라마 제일 창어리 추거 렉동 존데 라마가 톡대바 잠지 라방가르게 드루윈데 초랑 어디 지게 따네만에 르방원 투선이 샤사오리 데 라마가 톡유고 공방 포토거리 든주 망보케 요리 데나 든주케 망보케 요네 양 가르 든르케가 또바른 푸나 내가 또바른 푸나 하고나 니마 스녀모리데 디주장모담네 시지 컨퓨즈 찬들레 샤사오리 니바 망보리 라마게 내가 데라 동바른데 띵바 잠제 초란 샘나 줌이지 대화 쳔보레 랑이 쳔거레 따와든 추운 거레데 디주데 장마키나 하마오바데 데네 야데 박창이바가 톱데게 박창이바 롱이바 박창이바가 톱데게 효전라오라와 파히게 철정로 세녀모 샤마 댄사르데 컨퓨즈 시 차소서 로주망보리 데 로주망보리 다다가 로주오리 데 데라오 데 든루 릴리캅설라 데 주장히고리 추거 렉동 산제 냐제게 딘로스 Ginger Lama de Tok Deba, some Lama de Send Timba, some Sanje Nyaje, Ginger, Ngos. Soran Depso, Simi Osar the Bobjes, Nesora Lama Chil and Demni, Nesimi Osar the Tunamian Jorameba, Sam Korango, Ganyamba, Yay Nelo Ganyamba de, Ngala. Hakwari chike senje lopke sonne ta tendrike nga so soran de go nga so ta nga so lama la sora mata randa brida ta sangri ge go ni lama la sora dewa re gyule che ne ka bi dewa thartho ge dewa ni ka che go na lama la sora mata randa ri me yin ke nga so job thok ma ri ta sa ge job thok ma ri pe kha ge job thok ma ri pombo ge job thok ma ri pombo gari ya ya na job thok ma ri pombo ge ne ka te sa robar se ni te 대개 양 worst 차로 힘말이 대도 가서건 탈톡 대와 접사데 담배 주 라마 찍고 임바데 하고고래 호살 심이 호살도 보르제서 ngo니까 다 대리 주거 롱거 쭈거 ngo니까 그 예이hin가 다니든 그 예테테 대리 ngo니까 콘데 건착기 이히 코라 냥데 예르메바 파르투 코라메바 파르투 냥데메바 소르투 코라를 마더바 코라다 냥데 예미드 코로나인데 yen미 링아서 yen미리 다다단 트라 잠나 뛰는 가서 가장에 쳤다 차람 빼야 되나게 끼리라 뛰는 가서 코로나 좀 처디올마도 뭐마베는 코로나 좀 처디달래 코로나냥데리 코로나냥데 냠니 yen미도 하고나 데리 영어보 데리마도 양 자라서 냥데리 닌 코로나데 메송내리시나 말이다 자완인데 대히야마 대히는 상학 줄롱 로다리는 걸 다단 코로나가 가서 천당달리 하르 고찰릴 때니 냥데리는 상계에 되어리 대 상계에 띵 코로나 때 대랑리마도 저게 다단 코로나 콘더지 남도 대랑리마도 저게 남도 임바 제 야가를 내고 말이 좀 처음만 들으니까 차려와 샘 코로나가 힌지인데 샘다르과 힌지인데 처음만 들 차르게 힌지 거로 처음에 샘정에서 히고 만저버찬이 르과지 히고 대니 코 차르마도 제가 카하라고 말이 디삼노 대동거 디삼노 동도 예 콘데 건잡지 이히 시 테페 나시 센저저랑도스 나시 센저저 데리다 셀 센저저 나바 데리 데라고 제가 영어를 효제 좀 못함 될거 데니 대친 바로 돌지 뉴스 혈성오시 다 디값에 대친 바로 돌지 뉴스 혈어리 검도제데 랑세 열미리네 뉴스 바로 돌지고 우데 오저때 데니 뉴스 좀 추운 거다 나선 바로 돌지고 우데 데든 추운 거리 지진 바로 오전 바로 다 저라메 바 돌지 바로 돌지에서 저라메 바데 내로 공오데 디값에 다 바로 돌지 뉴스 대샤로 대마도 양 머르 냥간에 롱니 대바나 이랭요 말이다 대샤는 거 대 바로 돌지 뉴스 샤선 찬도 던덜랭 신jel라 로케스 찬도 던덜랭 바세야 돼 던덜드 공가 terchen longzang kabzang kona ke mai kan chantong pa chantong gawi hi se ya de chantong se ya de la dan kan ju mai da ya nang ne zem ni dondor lingba se ya de kona ke terche kabzang nang de ter tong ke kabzang re ori mai re di na le ni di ke nga da ju sinjelo ke tam baro do je lo soran de khina baro do je le nyeran yo mari che je sanjen ro ba lama chin chin no se 세제게 산전도 발라마치지 난 디손데 때 겨게 가하오레 넬라덤달 가치데 넨데다 라마란세 예미다 단디 바르도르제 닝본 라오된 데리다 삼니르게 당에 양니 양던 동거링에 양니 양던 동 양니 양던 소라딩에 거든 데베젤 촉된 동거저 희뇨 데 간다야 데마 이키마키마도 세제 산전도 라마친 친노세 세제 르제라 상기하거나 다 라마 델띵 거리 대인도 희다 전지되니 손대서 전지 라마 도르진 장친노세 라마 도르진 장 열매 바리 너는 알로데 대진 바로 도르진 니 찬톤 던절링 받든지 신질라 라마 체나다 신질라 키세야데 다 대리 되니 전지 라마 도르진 장친노 전지 라마 도르진 장친노 전지 라마 도르진 장친노 다 대사야데 조 대리 다 대 라마 대 공사야 다 대
냠바르네 So I said, you know, when you get excited, you just talk faster and faster and faster and faster.
Clearly.
Then they get impatient because they think I'm adding because I can't talk that fast. I couldn't talk that. That's why I'm not an auctioneer. And he said, of course I'm getting excited. I love this. This prayer, it's my favorite thing. I think that this is, Everything I understand or realize about Barway Dorje is through this prayer, he said. So, yeah, he's allowed to get excited, but I'm not. Because if I get excited, then people say, you talk too fast, we can't take notes. Sorry. Okay, so we're up to the prayer, which really is exciting. It starts with the words "eho," which we could say are Sanskrit, but actually they're trans-linguistic, because everybody says "ho" as an expression of joy, as an expression of laughter. A, we can see as the syllable of the fundamental emptiness of all existence and so on, if you want to go there. But basically, eho is an expression of awe or wonderment, amazement. Awe in the sense of awe at something good, not awe in the sense of awe at how bad things are. It's not eho is not the expression of encountering the abyss. But eho also is an exclamation of calling attention. So you're exultant in your amazement at the Guru's attributes, but you're also calling to the Guru because it's a prayer. Now you'll see that the prayer goes through the 4 kayas, or 4 bodies, starting with the Dharmakaya, and describes how these really function on a practical, day-to-day level in our encounters with the Guru. The first is Dharmakaya, body of emanation. That is the physical presence of your Guru. And about that Dharmakaya you say, the nature of your marks and signs, so these are, in the case of a perfect Buddha, the 32 marks and 80 signs of being a perfect Buddha. The nature of your marks and signs is appearance-emptiness that liberates by being seen. So we have nature and function. The nature of the Guru's physical being, Dharmakaya, is that it is empty appearance. Everything is empty appearance. But what makes the Guru distinct or different is that the Guru can make it manifest, can make it evident. So the Guru's Dharmakaya, empty appearance, proves to you, demonstrates to you, shows you what appearances really are. The function of this is that the Guru liberates by being seen, first and foremost. He does so because it is his aspiration to do so. But what this means is something profound, let's say. Great masters don't necessarily need to say very much. You just see them and something happens. Your kleshas calm down. You feel an unprecedented and inexplicable delight. Lama said a living example of this is Garchen Rinpoche. People aren't the same in his presence than they are outside of it, and they're not the same after they've met him. So this is something that they do, that the root Guru does. And it's because previously on the path, they made the aspiration. And we see this in all aspiration prayers, liturgies. May the mere sight of me bestow liberation. May the mere sight of me dispel suffering. May the mere sight of me make people better, make them kinder, and so on. So, in the third line, it says, I pray to you, bless my illusory body. So you pray to your guru as the Dharmakaya, as his or her their physical presence, and you ask for their corresponding blessing that your illusory body, which we discussed yesterday, be blessed, so that you recognize the nature of appearances as empty. So when you say, bless my illusory body, you could say, you're saying, grant me your blessing so that I realize the nature of empty appearances. Then the next three lines correspond to the Sambhogakaya. So you say, Sambhogakaya, your euphonic speech of Dharma is sound emptiness that liberates by being heard. We may say, well, I know what the Guru's Dharmakaya is because I've seen it. I have photographs of it. But what is the Guru's Sambhogakaya? When push comes to shove, it's their speech. We may not see Fancy Dan's Sambhogakayas, but we've heard the Guru's speech. We can hear the Guru's speech. That euphonic speech of Dharma, and everything the Guru says is Dharma, whether they're teaching or not. That euphonic speech of Dharma is the Sambhogakaya, because it is sound emptiness. It is empty sound. And as before, all sound is empty sound, but the Guru's speech is different. The Guru's speech shows you that all sound is empty sound. We use the expression teacher for the Buddha and for our teachers, but actually what the word Tunpa means is shower. The Guru doesn't so much teach. I mean, they teach, but they have to prove it. They show us. And this sound emptiness liberates by being heard. Simply hearing the Guru's speech changes you, so that sooner or later you will achieve liberation. And then what you ask of the Sambhogakaya, the Guru's Sambhogakaya, is, I pray to you, liberate my channels and winds into clarity emptiness, or lucidity emptiness. Now, lucidity emptiness is the true nature of your channels and winds, and even the essences that are carried through those channels, propelled by riding on those winds. In part, Lama said the reference here is to the four empowerments, which, as you know, correspond to the four kayas of the Guru. The vase empowerment, which is conferred by the Guru's Dharmakaya, shows you or demonstrates that appearances are empty. So the vase empowerment shows you empty appearances. The secret empowerment, which is conferred by the Guru's Sambhogakaya, shows you empty lucidity. The empty lucidity that is the nature of, for example, the channels and winds and whatnot. The knowledge wisdom empowerment is conferred by the Guru's Dharmakaya and shows you the empty bliss, the emptiness of bliss. And finally, the precious word empowerment, sometimes just called the fourth empowerment, which is conferred by the Guru's Svabhavikakaya, or essence body, shows you empty awareness, the emptiness of awareness. Continuing, we now come to the Dharmakaya, and it says, Dharmakaya, you are the only Buddha. This is not hyperbole. We are not saying the Guru is the only Buddha because we want to please him or because we think he's more important than other Buddhas. He really is the only Buddha because there is only one Buddha. We saw yesterday, all Buddhas are one in the expanse of wisdom. When someone becomes a Buddha, they become all Buddhas. Therefore, the Guru, who has become a Buddha, really is the only Buddha. What is that Dharmakaya, the only Buddha? The text continues, awareness emptiness that liberates by being recollected. So, that only Buddha, the Guru, is empty awareness or awareness emptiness. And the Dharmakaya doesn't talk. We saw that the Guru's speech is Sambhogakaya, and the Guru's form, the Guru's presence is Nirmanakaya. How does Dharmakaya get to us? If it doesn't talk, we can't see it. Through recollection, the thought of the Guru, the memory of the Guru. And this is actually a big secret. It is through the recollection of the Guru that we are accepted as disciples by the Dharmakaya. It is through the recollection of the Guru that what is called in our precious Kagyu tradition especially, the transference of realization occurs. Now, there is such a thing as the transference of realization. But, Lama said, sometimes it's temporary. Sometimes people have this experience, this transference of realization through recollection of the Guru, perhaps through being in the Guru's presence, perhaps through recollection. And they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to handle it. So, lacking any other resources, they return to their previous way of operating. Which, I mean, who can blame us when we do that? We've been doing that throughout beginningless time. That's our problem. So sometimes it doesn't last. It lasts maybe a day or a week or so on. So that can happen. What you ask of the Dharmakaya, you say, I pray to you, mix my mind with the clear light, with luminosity. Now it's been stated, Lama quoted the sutras and others, that the mind really is luminosity. The mind really is clear light. That's all your mind really is. So how can you mix it with itself? Exactly. We have to pray to the Guru. We have to continuously pray to the Guru. We have to always pray to the Guru for the simple reason, Lama said, that no one else can actually protect us. No one other than your root Guru can do you any real and lasting good. Who else are you going to pray to? He said. To your rulers, political leaders? That's only going to make things worse. Then I pray to you, mix my mind with the clear light. Turning the page onto page 240, now we come to Svabhavikakaya. Svabhavikakaya, that's essence body, the non-duality of the Nirmanakaya and so forth, those three. You are the wisdom that pervades all samsara and nirvana. So the Svabhavikakaya is the essence of what the Guru is. What is that has this physical presence, this speech, and this recollected being that transfers realization? It is a wisdom that already pervades all samsara and nirvana. Now, when we hear pervades all samsara and nirvana, Lama said, we tend to imagine a pervasive thing that's in two distinct areas. We have samsara over here, and we have nirvana over there. That is wrong. Nirvana is nothing other than the nature, already the nature of samsara. If we think of nirvana as a place where we can, or a state, to which we can escape from samsara, that, Lama said, is a wrong view of the Vajrayana. It is actually missing the whole point. If you think that nirvana ensues upon or is created by or caused by the elimination of samsara, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're trying to replace what is with some imaginary, hypothetical place of escape. That looking for escape is itself the cause of delusion and samsara. Now you might answer, Lama, or object, Lama said, especially if you've been around here for a while, but what about the separation of samsara and nirvana? We know there's this secret practice, the separation of samsara and nirvana. What about that, eh? Well, the separation of samsara and nirvana is a way to realize that there is no nirvana other than the nature of samsara. It's a way to prove it. It's a way to experience it. So therefore, the Guru's essence, or Svabhavika is the wisdom that pervades all samsara and nirvana. It continues, you liberate by being touched. This is literal, the Guru's physical touch. Why is that how the essence body or the Guru's essence liberates? Because it is all three of the above mentioned three bodies. It is the physical presence of the Dharmakaya. It is communication, non-verbal communication, but communication through touch. Therefore, it is the Guru's Sambhogakaya. And it is non-conceptual. Therefore, the transmission of the Dharmakaya. What does this do? The prayer says, you liberate by being touched like an elixir that transforms everything into gold. In most European and Asian cultures, there's always been a legend of some stuff that can turn lead into gold. And sometimes this is said to really represent the achievement of physical immortality. It doesn't really mean turning lead into gold, it means the transformation of your body into some kind of magic body that will live forever. But really, what turns everything into gold? The Guru's touch. The Guru's touch is not, in fact, like an elixir that turns the lead of our misery into gold. It is that. So at this point, instead of asking the Svabhavika Kaya for this or that, as you did with the first three Kayas, you get personal. You address the Guru by name. And you don't ask for anything. You acknowledge what you've already received. You say, Terchen Barway Dorje, you've appeared in my heart. And this is not simply an acknowledgement that I'm imagining you in my heart. It's an attitude of gratitude, overwhelming gratitude, for the fact that he has appeared in your heart. Which means that you're not the only person doing this, Guruyoga. You placed the call, but it's been answered. That phone has been picked up. When you see him in your heart, it's not pretend. It's real. This is real. Why do you call him by name? Isn't that cheeky? Don't we usually say Rinpoche? Because in your heart, Terchen, or great bliss, is the realization of the truth. In your heart, he is showing you the truth. You call him Barway, blazing, because that way that he's showing you the truth, the nature of things, is brilliant illumination. It's not subtle. It's not like a crossword puzzle. It's overwhelming, brilliant, blazingly so. Dorje, Vajra, we call him that because what he shows, and he is inseparable from that nature that he embodies, is unchanging. It's unchangeable. It's indestructible. That which is neither something nor nothing cannot be destroyed by anything. And then in the next line, you do ask him for something. You address him by the name given to him by deities and dakinis, Troktung Dudur Lingpa, Hiruka Terchen who subdues Maras, and you simply say, bless me. Because you're dealing with the essence of the Guru, you're addressing, rather, the essence of the Guru here, you don't need to be specific. Because when you say, bless me, you're asking for everything, all of it, all at once. And then you conclude, my accomplishment of Buddhahood in one life is up to you, my Guru. And that's true. That's not being polite or complimentary. The only way to achieve Buddhahood in one life is through mixing your mind with your Guru. To use the analogy of communication that I used earlier, it's like making the call being answered, and staying on the line. That's how it's done. That's how it's always been done, and it's the only way it can be done. And then the prayer that is repeated, Kind Guru Vajradhara, know me. Now, English works in a few ways slightly differently than Tibetan. The Tibetan Chenu can be heard or read two ways. It can be a statement, an indicative statement, in which case you would say, Kind Guru Vajradhara, you know. So one aspect when we say Barway Dorje Cheno, Karmapa Cheno, or here, Jinchen Lama Dorje Chung Cheno, is a statement. You know. Barway Dorje, you know. Another way to think of it is it can be seen as an imperative, in which case it's a request. So please know, or know this, and so on. So know me, hear me, see me, and all of that. Unfortunately, in English, we have to choose one or the other. And that's why you'll see these basically two ways of translating this same Tibetan word. That's it.
Well, the start ke to takari. Oi, Mario. Reach to junior.
Let it.
Okay, now we will stop here to dedication.
So we'll stop for the morning as we're out of time and dedicate the virtue.
Thank you. Oh, sonam daye damji zeba ni domne ni be rana bamze jega namje balan roba ye zebe zolen rowa yo sanjo zene rumbo je ma je pa na je 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 ba nyam ba me ba da kon ne kon do be war yo sim je dam je de da den je je ngin ro dam je ta do tong bo ra yo san jo zam ba kan da zar yo te da gan je mo la ra ba yo san je re je zhen zhen dan be ga jar gan de ya dan da len ba za je me zon re ve sang a je si ye zon da ja be tra yi yo no su yaga isari tenge tege tren khadu 당하는 그 파때 절대 빼들 만보 봤는데 님바 데 고란 레바 시진 로서 다 디나니 제가 던 지밀레 봐서 내가 님바 데일 시지 연 형도 근데 아 이거 야 망치야 돼 사료람 땡겨
땡송게 노트 노사파 자게도
디나니 컴퓨터 데가 레가 랜드 저게 컴퓨터 게 make a mistake last zone